Salsa without hip action? Well, then it's just a bunch of footwork. So how is it that you actually get the hips to move in the right way in salsa? Well, it's a complex process and it takes some time, but what I want to do today is give you 2 exercises that you can do that will at least get your hips moving in the right direction. Number 1, all about the hips, right? So I'm gonna stand, let's do shoulder width apart with the feet. Put your weight on your left foot and sink into that hip. Should feel like you're holding something on this hip. Sink into the hip, there should be no weight on this other leg. Bam. Now we're gonna come up through neutral, so weight's 50-50. I transfer my weight over to this side, and then I sink into that hip. This is pretty easy, but it's gonna take some time getting used to the sequencing. So I'm down in the hip, I'm gonna come up to neutral, transition my weight, and sink into the other hip. Once you feel like you're good at that one, then we're ready for number 2. Number 2 has 2 parts. So really, we could say it's 2 and 3, but 2. We're gonna call it 2 with parts A and B. Part A is just getting your hips to twist. So we're gonna put our feet together for this exercise. And we're going to keep our shoulders where they are, and we're gonna twist our hips side to side. It helps if you ground yourself with a hand. And notice I'm not really bending my legs at this point, I'm just twisting my hips side to side. And that is all of A. Is just getting your hips used to opening without your shoulders going. Part B is where it gets a little more complex. We're essentially going to do the first exercise and put part A onto that, which gives us 2B. Somehow the math works. Just like the first exercise where I was just transferring and sinking, but as I sink, I'm going to pull the hip back, or you could think of bringing this hip forward. And so rather than just sticking it out to the side, it's moving backwards. And then I come all the way up to neutral, 50-50, transfer my weight onto this foot. As it starts getting there 100%, I pull this hip back or this hip forward, whatever makes sense to you, and bam. So it's up to neutral, transition weight, sink and twist. Up to neutral, transition weight, sink and twist. As I said, this is far more complex than just these 2 exercises, but we have to get used to moving our hips in this way in order to do the full thing. The full motion is called Cuban motion, and the idea is that we try to get our hips to move in a figure 8 pattern. If you have questions about this, I would love to work with you on it.